The Pittsburgh Penguins have a golden opportunity as a new report has just revealed a sneaky good player has just become available, and the Pittsburgh Penguins and Kyle Dubas can take advantage of one team in particular to make this move happen and continue to make this team younger and improve the lineup. We're going to break down exactly who this player is and why this makes sense for the Pittsburgh Penguins moving forward. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the Pittsburgh Penguins, go down below, hit that free subscribe button because this is the place to be for all your daily Pittsburgh Penguins news. But Nick, let's get right into it. There is a player that has just become available, which is very uncommon right now around the league, that's for sure, at least openly available. I'm sure a lot of teams are kicking tires on some players, but that is Yegor Chinakhov from the Columbus Blue Jackets. You can see this came out late last night, and he said that I had some misunderstandings with the coach during the season, and we know there's been a lot of turnover in Columbus in terms of coaching, general manager, all that stuff, right? We know that. He went on to say, now I would be glad to have a trade. I would like to move to a different location. Will I return to Russia? As long as I can play in the NHL, I will keep developing here. So it sounds like, worst case scenario, if Columbus does not trade this player, he's going to go to the KHL, I guess at this point. He's going to go back to Russia. But he wants to stay in the NHL. He wants to play in the NHL, but he wants to play for another team. And I think it's very interesting because the Penguins can take advantage of this. This is a guy that only makes $2.1 million. We'll get into the specifics of that in a second. If you take a look at the advanced analytics, not horrible. There's some things that are definitely, would turn off fans, that's for sure. But what do you make of possibly acquiring this player if you're the Penguins? Because he's still very young. He has had some injury trouble, that's for sure, but half a point a game player last season, and I don't think it would be that bad of a move. I think it could be a sneaky good move for Kyle Dubas.
No, Darius, I can agree with you in some ways on that point, but my thing when I think of Yegor Chinakhov on the Penguins, I feel like if he was a Pittsburgh Penguin, this would be the kind of player they'd be looking at actually trading away. If you look at like who the Penguins have been talking about trading away and who has value and who doesn't, guys like Raquel and Russ, who we discussed at length on this channel if you guys want to check those videos out as well. But he's a solid player. Former first round pick. I do remember people were very surprised when he was taken so high. When he was picked in that ultimate 2020 draft that we all remember so very well. And half a point a game player again. Before we started the video, Darius, we were talking about a little bit of his back injury that he dealt with. We know how those can impact hockey players. I feel like your back is a little bit important when you're playing a sport like hockey or any sport in general. But he's still young. He's only 24. He does, have some decent raw output when you look at it. But for me, again, my opinion on this, I think yours might be a little different, Darius, is like this is a guy when the trade deadline comes around, if he was on the Penguins, they'd be like, okay, let's look at trading him because he's already 24. I feel like he's past the growth curve of what the Penguins want to be with some of the other guys that they have. Like, I think they want to be even younger than 24. Like, when the Penguins are good, what are we saying? 2-3 years from now, his contract is going to be up. He's going to be 27 by then. It's just, to me, it doesn't make too much sense, but I can see some justification if you want to have some more young scoring-ish talent on the team. If you, swap out guys like Rust and Raquel and you bring in a Chinakhov, I could see from that landscape. But for me, it just seems like this is a guy you acquire and then you trade later. So it could be a waste of time if they were to look at it that way.
It's interesting that you bring that up and the trade deadline, because I think that is exactly the point and exactly what I wanted to bring up, that you can buy low on this player right now. He wants a trade. It's obvious, right? That's out there at this point. The Columbus Blue Jackets don't have that much leverage when it comes to him. He doesn't make that much against the cap. If you're a team like the Pittsburgh Penguins, you can absolutely afford this player. There's so many other teams that are cash strapped right now that wouldn't be able to trade for this player. So you can trade for, acquire him for a low price right now, bring him in, give him an opportunity to play, put up some points. Hopefully he stays healthy. And if he does that, he can become a hot commodity at the trade deadline. You can flip him for more assets, which I think Kyle Dubas is going to be very busy doing that this trade deadline. That's for sure. And maybe even before the season starts, we don't know. But $2.1 million, like you mentioned, his contract expires. He's an RFA at the end of it. If he does continue to put up the points that he is, which again, not a large sample size, but half a point a game player, not not bad, right? Especially for that cap hit. And he's an RFA, team control, all of these things. I can see it being attractive for another team. So not, I'm not trying to make the point of acquiring him to keep him long term. Maybe you do want to do that, right? That is definitely an idea. But I think this is a golden opportunity for the Penguins to acquire this player, let him play in a lineup that is, let's be honest, depleted going into next year and doesn't have too many guys that are, solidified NHLers on it, I guess, at this point. Let him come in, try and make an impact, and then maybe if he becomes a hot commodity, you flip him at the deadline. So I don't know how you feel about that. There's a couple guys here that are in the reserves, like Tomasino right now, at least on Puckpedia. You have to consider, right, in terms of moving salary out or bringing in more salary, and how many guys you're going to have in the lineup, because you don't want to stunt a guy like Tomasino either. He's only 23, and he did have a pretty decent season, especially start when he came over to Pittsburgh. So if you look at the lineup, I think it could make some sense if you move out like Raquel or Russ, like we've been talking about, right? I think it's most likely Raquel at this point, but what do you think of that? If you move out one of these top 6 guys, maybe a Chinakhov can come in, play top 6 minutes, put up a ton of points, right? Playing with a Malkin or Crosby, right? If it's Russ that's going out the door, and then you trade him at the deadline. I think at that cap hit and the fact that he's an RFA, this is a good opportunity for the Penguins to buy low and then sell high on this player.
I honestly do agree with that point. I'm unsure of what the cost would be for a Chinakhov.
That's fair.
I know there have been some reports from Columbus that they said they're not just gonna like take the best offer available at the time. They're gonna wait on it, and they're okay with waiting on it until something actually good arises. Because to me, a guy like Chinakhov does hold some value, especially being young. There's been a lot of people that have been traded in the past couple of weeks that have been looked at as reclamation projects, or just like people that have lower value and they're trying to take advantage of it. We've seen that across the league, and I think people think Chinakhov could be that if he's fully healed from his back injury, comes in, has a nice training camp, could maybe become a 60-point player. If he's already have a game point guy, that kind of seems like the logical next step. And from Columbus' point of view, I know he requested a trade, but you don't have to honor trade requests if you really don't want to at the end of the day. With Columbus too, I think people are looking at them to take a step. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. They were in the run pretty much all year last year until the end. Zach Werenski is an unbelievable defenseman. I think he was runner-up in the Norris Trophy to K.O. Makar. So he's in that, tier of defensemen. Yeah. And I think, I don't know why. I don't know if they're trading him for futures or they want a player now. Because I feel like if they want to, there's a Raquel Chinakhov swap, it doesn't really make sense. Because they could just think, why can't Yegor Chinakhov just be that? So I don't know. It's a lot of moving parts, and I see it making sense for the Penguins because he's younger. Kyle Dubas seems to be able to get a lot of value for these players. He could, like you said, Darius, play in a higher, point of the lineup, get good minutes if the coach, likes him, of course, and then get some power play minutes. Play with literally one of the best players ever to play hockey, in Sidney Crosby, maybe. So I can see from that point of view. But for me, for both sides, it's just not making too much sense for me. And that's really my take on it at the end of the day. The Penguins are better off just trying to trade Raquel and Russ. And honestly, like we think it's very easy to just sell off assets. We do it in NHL 25 GM mode all the time where you just press find trade and okay, this guy's giving me a first and we'll take it. But it's not that easy in real life. And if the Penguins are trying to move on from, we've heard Russ, Raquel, we've heard Malkin, we've heard Karlsson, we've heard a little bit of Crosby. It's a lot on Kyle Dubas' plate. So I think from that point of view, it might be tough to get a deal done and then try and do another one when March rolls around.
Definitely. And to make this work, I mean, you would probably have to move off of one of Rust or Raquel to make this master plan, if you want to call that work, from the Columbus Blue Jackets. So you bring up some good points as well. But I think, the one thing with Columbus and why I think they actually have to trade him, because like you said, you definitely don't have to honor trade requests if you don't want to, if you're the Columbus Blue Jackets. But he basically said in this that he will go to the KHL if he has to, right? If he's not going to be moved off of. So I feel like that puts a little bit more pressure on the Columbus Blue Jackets, although we've seen around the league, a lot of agents do this type of stuff through the media, so there could be some negotiating with that. But I feel like that is something to this as well, where he's saying, okay, if you don't trade me, I'm going to leave anyway, so you might as well get an asset from me, right? So I feel like that could be some motivation for Columbus as well. But we shall see. Let us know how you feel in the comments about possibly trading for Chinakhov. I think it could be an interesting, not only fit during the season, and if he fits, great, keep him. He could be a good player. He's a young player. And, if it's not really working out, then you can try and trade him again at the trade deadline. And obviously, if it did work out and you still want to flip him, you can go that route as well. So it's going to be very interesting. Let us know how you feel in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything Pittsburgh Penguins.